Hey, this is Billy from Perma Pastures Farm, and today we're really excited because we're going to do something that's never been done before, to my knowledge, and that is the chicken tractor on steroids with broilers or meat birds, whatever you want to call them. All right, so here we are. It's in the morning, and we've been kind of setting these guys up for the system they're currently in. Now, these aren't Cornish crosses, these are Red Rangers. We've done this, I should point this out, that we've done this in the past, and we've done it in the past exclusively for layers. And better still, in this system, in this chicken tractor on steroids system, it works best, in my opinion, with big-bodied, dual-purpose birds. Now, at one particular time, we've had 3 different chicken tractors going at the same time for about a year. Now, one little caveat is, it is labor-intensive. It does require more out of you. And you'll see that unfold over the couple of weeks. There's no way we're going to be able to describe everything that has to unfold in this video right now. So we're going to start with the basic components. Now, this is Justin Rhodes' chicken tractor, his chickshaw. And this is essentially Jeff Lawton's system, which I believe he got it even from another person. But this is a combination and an amalgamation of all the great components of both systems. At least I think so. Now, in this particular case, there had to be deviations because, number one, we didn't have a week's worth of bedding that they pooped on. And we also don't have a good, clean source as of yet, given the crisis we're in right now. We don't have a good source of cow manure or any other kind of really good manure. So what we've done is we've taken the stuff that was in the barn. Now, keep in mind, we've used it in the vegetable garden, we've used it around our orchard, we used it around our emerging food forest, we've made hot compost with it, and now it's in the very bottom layer of this short compost cage. That's the bottom part. Next thing up, we put a little bit of biochar, just for good measure. To cover the bigger holes in this, we've taken some cut grass that we had left over from when we made the hot compost. So those are the components of what's in here right now. Now, the next step is we're going to take their food scraps and we're going to dump it in the middle of here. And these guys are going to go to work on it. Let's talk about this cage and why it looks like the size of a kid's swimming pool. There's a reason for that. Number one, these guys are going to get big enough to where they can't negotiate. They wouldn't be able to walk up. They probably could, but it will be inefficient for these guys to walk up a plank into something that's a meter high. So, just with a little bit of math, we've realized that, hey, pi r squared plus your height, we can figure out the volume of this. So essentially 1 foot up from the bottom in this particular cage is going to give us about a cubic yard of material, which is exactly what we need, the minimum of what we need to make a decent compost pile. So this is 16 inches up to here, so right about here we're going to say is about 12 inches. So we're nearly there. We don't go all the way because we're going to keep adding components to this. Okay, so what's going to happen is these guys are going to be fed right in the center of this little compost cage. Whatever they don't eat will ultimately become composted. Every day we're going to add food scraps on top of here. They're going to scratch around, they're going to do what chickens do, they're going to mix it up, and it's going to stay put for about a week. Now, this might sound a little convoluted, but it isn't. Just stay along for the ride, and it'll all make sense as this thing unfolds. It's not going to be one comprehensive video right now. It will have to unfold over a period of time. So, with that said, let's get these guys fed, and then we'll talk about how it unfolds after that. Okay, let's talk about what's going to happen from here. These guys, now keep in mind, they're about 5 weeks old. And it took a fair amount of time to get them to the point where, like I said, this is largely an experiment. We've done this many, many times with, these guys are pecking me. We've done this many, many times with layers. But this is the first time, this marks the first time with meat birds. So they have different requirements to some extent, which is why in this first pile, I didn't give them just food scraps. They still have a little bit of their feed in there. I'd say about a quarter of their rations because we've kind of worked them up to this point. They didn't just jump into this. We've kind of, over the last week or so, we've kind of introduced them into the other food that they ought to be eating. So now, what's going to happen, and this is critical, after a week, this is going to sit here. They're going to continue to go inside here and work on their, at night, they'll go inside, they'll poop on the bedding they have in there. They'll stay out, this will stay in place for a week. Every day, right now I'm doing it twice a day. Every day we're going to come out here, add more food scraps. After a week, this pile is going to turn. We're going to take this cage off. We're going to rebuild it. This chicken tractor is going to move that way. And about 2 meters away, we'll reassemble it. And we'll put the same stuff right back in it. But this time, we'll have the benefit of having their bedding. So this will actually turn as a complete compost pile in a week. And then it'll happen another week. It'll happen another week. And then on the 4th week, this first pile will turn on the outside of the cage. And inside of a month, we have finished compost. Now, the benefit to you is, instead of a Berkeley method, where you're going to be flipping this stuff numerous times, basically every other day, after 4 days, you'll be flipping it every other day. Well, in this system, you're only going to have basically 4 to 5 flips in a month. So instead of having finished compost in 18 days, you're going to have this stuff as finished compost in a month. But the beautiful part is the absolutely wonderful, I mean, this is quintessential permaculture, if you ask me. The beautiful purpose of this is, number one, I'm not spending any money. After this week, I won't spend another dime on food, on store-bought food. Every bit of this will be recycled chicken scraps. Not chicken scraps, be recycled. Yeah, we don't want that. We'll basically have food, leftover food, whatever the case may be. They'll be eating those scraps, and they'll also be eating the biota in the previous compost piles. The beautiful part of this system is that the symbiosis is the very definition of permaculture. I'm frankly shocked that more people don't do this. Poor guy needed his way in. Look at him. So the beautiful part of this system is everything is pretty much provided right there on your land. You're not spending a dime, not one thin dime, on things that aren't already there. You got, in most cases, if you don't have it, you can acquire it. You can get all the components for this thing and you're ready to rock and roll. No big deal. So like I said, the beautiful part is every single week, if you stay with it, you will have a cubic yard of compost, finished compost, that you can use anywhere you might need it. Or if you're in a position like we were before, we had compost coming out of our ears because we had 3 of these going at the same time. So stay tuned and we'll show you. Like I said, there's no way I can put all this in one video to make it make sense. So it will unfold over weeks. But like I said, just keep in mind, this is going to stay put for a week. These guys are going to get fed. We're going to supplement their feed until these piles become more and more mature. And as this system matures, these guys will require less from us. Now, I should point out that these birds, in a lot of cases, people process them in 10 weeks, sometimes 12. Now, considering the fact that these guys are going to be working much, much harder than typical meat birds work within most systems, it might take them a little bit longer to achieve the weight, but I don't care, because number one, they're building compost for me, and number two, I don't have any money in it. So that is a superb, excellent, elegant, and efficient system. So this is Billy, the Permaculture Pimp Daddy from Perma Pastures Farm. We'll see you next time.